This is Covering the Spread, part of the FanDuel Podcast Network.
Pretty fun sports weekend across a lot of different sports. Of course, the NFL Combine, a lot of running going on this weekend. We have got the F1 season opener on Saturday morning, qualifying later today. We've got 3 NASCAR races in Las Vegas, which we'll discuss later on. And, of course, EPL Matchweek 27. We're going to break down that today with Austan picking his brain on his favorite bets at FanDuel Sportsbook. And then I'll talk NASCAR, Cup, Xfinity, and trucks later on. This is Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and FanDuel Research. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a managing editor of digital media for FanDuel Research. Joined to kick things off by Austan Cass. Check him out on Twitter at Austan Cass. Find his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior editor. Austan, welcome on into the show. How you doing today?
Doing really well. How are you doing, Jim?
I am doing delightful. I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited to get started with the truck racer tonight. I'm going to hop off this discussion with you and hop right into qualifying in Bahrain, which should be a lot of fun. So honestly, it doesn't get a lot better than this weekend. I know that that's like hyperbolic if there's nothing like no huge tentpole events, but like I'm pretty jazzed personally.
Yeah. I really like this time of year, and no NFL. That's probably like if there was something NFL, but I guess the Combine is that. But yeah, I don't get super into it, but yeah.
I do enjoy the Combine. I'm also spending the rest of today after this call, outside of watching F1 qualifying, building out my NFL win total model, like putting in like the priors and stuff like that. So it's a nerd day, and I love nerd days, so I'm very excited for that. We're going to talk about the EPL with Austan here to kick things off. Then I'll dive in to some NASCAR later on. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to Covering the Spread wherever you get your podcast. We did talk some Combine with Eric Froton of NBC Sports on Wednesday. Got his read on some players he expects to run well. We discussed the receivers with him a lot, and the receivers have not run yet, so that discussion is still valid. So check out that discussion with Eric Froton on the Covering the Spread podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us there. If you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star rating and do hit that subscribe button. You can also find the show on the FanDuel YouTube page and FanDuel TV Plus. Alrighty, Austan, let's kick things off by diving into EPL for this weekend. And that does include what is traditionally a pretty fun match between Man City and Man United. I know this year it's not maybe the most competitive match, given that it does seem like Man City is back in form. But let's talk about this match. Any value for you for Man City versus Man United this weekend?
Yeah, so as you alluded to, all signs point to City rolling. They're minus 400 to win, minus 113 to go over 2.5 goals. So not much. There's not much that appeals to me on a team-wide level, but I do like a player prop, and that's Bernardo Silva to score or assist at plus 125. Silva plays a little all over the place for City, but he's a fairly safe bet to start because Jack Grealish came off injured midweek for them. Other than the high likelihood that City are going to create a lot of chances in this game, what puts me on Silva is his crossing ability, which is something Man City might need to rely on if Man United sit back and play very defensively. And I think that's probably what they're going to do. When these teams played earlier this year at Old Trafford, United had only 39% of the possession. So we could see City have close to 70% of the ball here in this match and really pin back United for long stretches. So if City need to break through a low block of defenders, they might turn to Bernardo's crossing ability. He leads City, he's second on the team this year in crosses into the box, and he's third on the team in passes into the penalty area. So he plays in an attacking position for a team as good as City. He always has a threat to score himself as well. So he's done that 6 times this year. So in general, that's probably the angle I'm going to take to get access to this game because the team-wide stuff isn't very appealing to me. So, yeah, I like Bernardo Silva plus 125 to score or assist.
Now, you mentioned the stats on Silva and the numbers there. How much is that impacted by the fact that they're now healthier? Because obviously, when I think about like health, think about it from like an NBA perspective, where LeBron James comes back and everyone else kind of takes a secondary seat. And City's got a lot of key pieces back recently. Does that downplay the stats for Silva, or is his role one that actually might be amplified because there are now better finishers on the opposing side of those crosses?
So it kind of goes both ways. I would compare it to like a receiver who's maybe like a second or third option and the number one guy's out. So the number one guy coming back, which is Kevin De Bruyne, he's their number one playmaker. Like that can be a negative, but it's also a positive because they're probably just going to create more chances or score more touchdowns in that football analogy. So Haaland coming back doesn't really – it's definitely a positive. He's going to be crossing to probably the best goal scorer in the world right now. But De Bruyne is their chief playmaker and takes a lot of corners, which probably is going to remove Bernardo from that and any set piece work. But in general, De Bruyne is such a good playmaker that he can set up Bernardo in good spots, and then Bernardo's going to be passing to the best striker in the world right now.
Yeah, so he benefits from their health as opposed to like maybe it lets the ball a bit less, but like the overall offensive environment is so much better with those guys being healthy.
That's why I would agree. If it was just De Bruyne back and not Haaland, then I would say it's a negative. But with both of them coming back, I would say it's a net positive.
And this is a score or assist market. So if he's on the opposing, if he gets the assist, you get the money regardless. So Bernardo Silva plus 125 for Man City versus Man United to score or assist is what Austin likes there. 9 other matches across Saturday through Monday, Austin. So looking at those other 9 matches, where else is seeing value starting off with the traditional markets for this weekend?
Yeah, so I think it's a really fun weekend with a lot of unique matchups. And an element that's going to be at play in several of these matchups is rest differential. Some of these teams played midweek in the FA Cup, and some of them did not. So one way I'm looking to take advantage of that is with Tottenham against Crystal Palace on Saturday. I like Tottenham over 2.5 goals, which is plus 158. And then I also like Tottenham's first half money line, which is minus 110. I like those as like separate bets, not a parlay. Tottenham have a big rest advantage. They haven't played since March 17th. Palace played last weekend, March 24th. That's a really big deal, especially for a Tottenham side that's usually a high-pressing, high-energy team. The rest element plays into my first half recommendation because I think they're going to come out 100 miles an hour. Also, both teams had very different results last time out. Palace got a big 3-0 win over Burnley, which hurt us from my recommendation for last week, but that was a victory that, for the most part, eases most of their concerns about getting dragged into a relegation fight. They should be safe, might be primed to let their foot off the gas a little bit. Tottenham, meanwhile, lost at home to Wolves in their last game. Their backs are really against the wall in their fight to make the top 4. So they're going to be super motivated this game. They haven't played for 2 weeks. They have a brutal stretch, Tottenham does, coming up after this, schedule-wise. So they really can't afford to get anything other than a win in this match. And then the last thing is Palace just really isn't very good. They've let in a lot of goals in their recent matches against teams in the top half of the table. They've conceded 15 times across their past 4 matches in the split. So in my eyes, everything is coming up Tottenham, and I'm backing a fully rested Spurs side to win this first half and then to go over 2.5 goals.
The first half money line for Tottenham is minus 110 over 2.5 goals, plus 158 right now for Tottenham versus Crystal Palace. And looking back at that Burnley match, it sounds like that might have been a bit of a misleading result. You messaged me saying Burnley got a red card right away. Is that enough of a factor where it would swing things, potentially leading to a not necessarily ideal result for them?
Yeah, for sure. I think Burnley wasn't playing real well before the red card, but it's just something that we don't really have in other sports where maybe like a quarterback getting injured or in a football game where it just one thing happens and it totally changes the whole rest of the game.
Or like if a guy goes to the penalty box in hockey, but he has to spend the entire rest of the game there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just such like a weird thing that can happen. And as soon as that happened, it obviously the odds flip and just change everything for the rest of that game. So yeah, it was a bummer, obviously, for our bet because we were on Burnley. And as soon as that happened, I knew they've got 70 minutes of suffering here probably. So, yeah.
All right. So we're looking for a bounce back and betting against Crystal Palace this weekend. The Tottenham first half money line minus 110, over 2.5 goals, plus 158. What about other matches? Anything else standing out to you there, Austin?
Yeah. So I also like Everton's money line, their home match against West Ham on Saturday. So I I picked against West Ham last week and it didn't work out. They won 4-2 on Monday night against Brentford, and they played well and they deserved to win. But looking at their recent track record over the past 2 months, that match was definitely an outlier. On the year, they're just 16th in expected goal differential, according to FBref's XG model. They're very fortunate to be 8th in the table. They've lost the XG battle in 4 of their last 5 road matches, including 2.8 to 0.5 in their last away game, which was against Nottingham Forest. So yeah, I'm kind of betting on them kind of regressing to the mean a little bit. But Everton, on the other hand, are the total opposite of West Ham. They're 15th in the table, but 7th by XG differential. They haven't won a league match since December 16th, which obviously isn't what you want to hear when you're betting on someone to win. But they've been pretty solid at home with a cumulative XG score of 5.7 to 2.9 over their last 3 home matches. And 2 of those games were against Aston Villa and Tottenham, a pair of sides that are fighting for a spot in the top 4. And then going back to the rest advantage, because West Ham played on Monday night, Everton played last Saturday. So they have a 2-day rest advantage here. And just in general, I think Everton are due for some positive regression. West Ham just played their best game in 2 months. So I think Everton have deserved to win based on some of their recent performances, and I think they're going to get it on Saturday against West Ham.
So easier schedule for Everton, rest advantage, underlying data for West Ham, maybe not the most flattering when they go on the road. So it sounds like a lot of factors pointing towards Everton here. Their money line plus 105 for that match against West Ham. What about player props? Anything stand out to you when the player prop department across this entire weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to go to one more Saturday match, Chelsea at Brentford. I like Ivan Toney to score or assist, which is minus
Old
115.
classic. Love
yeah,
it.
I know. I love that market so much. Saka cashed for us last weekend in that market, which was, we got pretty lucky. Arsenal dominated, and it looked like he actually wasn't going to get one, but he got one late. But anyway, for this match, Tony's gotten a late start to the year due to a suspension, but he hit the ground running. He's got 4 goals already across 7 games. It's a continuation of what he did last year. Is it minus 135 now?
Plus 135.
Oh, that's his anytime.
Oh, wait, that's
goal.
a goal score.
Sorry.
I'm on the wrong
Sorry,
spot. There we go.
Oh, wow.
Minus 115.
Yeah. So, like I said, he's doing really well this year. He did really well last year. He had 20 goals and 4 assists across 33 starts. He's a superb penalty taker, one of the best in the league, which definitely doesn't hurt things in this market. Brentford are also going to have the rest advantage. Starting with last Sunday, Chelsea played an EFL Cup final that went to extra time, and then they played an FA Cup match on Wednesday that was a 3-2 dogfight. Brentford in that time just had one match. It was the match against West Ham that I referenced earlier on Monday. So they're going to have the rest advantage. They're going to be at home. They also are flirting a little bit with getting into a relegation battle. So this match means a lot more to them than it does to Chelsea. So I think Toney can take advantage of what's likely going to be a Chelsea side that's a little fatigued, and I like him to score or assist.
As you mentioned, that is minus 115 for Toney to score or assist. 7 matches back so far for Toney. He has scored in 4 of those. No assists yet, so no additive there, but obviously that's in play as well. So the data so far, good on Toney. He's a guy we've liked a lot of times, I think, on this show across the past couple of years, not counting when he was suspended earlier on this year, but happy to go back to an old reliable in Ivan Toney. Okay, so Toney, the player prop there. Everton money line plus 105. Tottenham first half money line minus 110. Tottenham over 2.5 goals plus 158. Bernardo Silva to score or assist plus 125. It's a lot of cooking, Austin. I like it. It's an exciting weekend.
If I throw enough darts, I got to hit one, right?
That's right. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a good profit for this weekend. That is Austan Cass. Make sure you check him out on Twitter at Austan Cass. Find his work at FanDuel Research. Austin, thank you for the time. As always, have a fantastic weekend. We'll talk to you once again soon.
You too. Thank you, Jim.
Alrighty, again, find Austin on Twitter at Austan Cass. That is for Matchweek 27 across the EPL. We're going to dive into some NASCAR momentarily, talk about Cup, Xfinity, and trucks in Las Vegas. But first, get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit the FanDuel app and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. First online, real money wager only, $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, and Vermont. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777. Or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana, visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland, 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050. for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's dig in now to NASCAR in Las Vegas, Cup, Xfinity, and Truck. Truck there tonight, Xfinity tomorrow, and Cup on Sunday. Betting guide for me at FanDuel Research went up yesterday, and in that betting guide, talked about Tyler Reddick to win this race, and he was 12-1 at the time. As you can see if you're watching on the FanDuel YouTube page or FanDuel TV Plus, that is no longer the case. Reddick has been bet down to plus 850, and that's enough where Reddick is no longer a value for me. But as always, or typically, when one driver lengthens, or when one driver shortens, another should lengthen to make room for the increase in implied odds of that driver. One of the drivers who lengthened as a result of Reddick shortening is his team owner, Denny Hamlin. Hamlin lengthened out to 10-1. Hamlin at one point at FanDuel was plus 850. He's now up to 10-1. And all of a sudden, Hamlin is the best value on the board for me as a result of that lengthening. So I like him at 10-1 right now. I've got Hamlin at 12% to win this race. So seeing him at 10-1 to me is pretty sweet. That's 9% implied odds. And that 12% for me is without giving a big bump to Toyota. I had to sneeze there for a second. That's without giving a huge bump to Toyota for their new body. So it's a reconfigured car this new offseason for both Toyota and Ford. And, that could lead to some early season struggles. They could struggle to figure this new car out, but it could also make them better. They probably would not make this change if they didn't think it'd make their car better relative to Chevy than where it was last year. But I'm not accounting for that really much here. And Hamlin is still a big value for me at this number. He won in Kansas last year. That is the sister track to Las Vegas. He finished second behind Reddick in the other Kansas race. He had average running positions of 6th and 7th in the two Las Vegas races last year as well. I agree with the model here. I think that Hamlin is a good value at 10-1. And if you had told me, Jim, you can have either Reddick at 12-1 or Hamlin at 10-1, I would have taken Hamlin at 10-1 yesterday. That was not an option at that time, but so I think that Hamlin now is the best bet on the board. So if you did not get in on Reddick at 12-1, I do think Hamlin is a tremendous consolation prize at 10-1. Great number for a great driver in a year where I expect Hamlin to have a good year once again. So do like Hamlin a lot at 10-1 to win Sunday's Cup Series race. As for Xfinity, 3 guys are values there based on the current odds at FanDuel Sportsbook. Those guys are John Hunter Nemechek at plus 350. Seeing some movement on the board here right now. Eric Almirola just shortened to 12-1. Sam Mayer is 18-1. Still a value on Almirola, despite the fact he has shortened to 12-1. So it's still those 3 guys who are values for me. I'm least inclined to take Nemechek at plus 350. I kind of want to see what he does in practice and qualifying first, because it's a pretty short number. My model is above that for sure, but still kind of want to take a wait and see approach, because a lot of the data on Nemechek comes from when he was a full-time Xfinity driver versus now being full-time in Cup. His focus is devoted there, so I'm going to wait and see there. But I do still like Almirola and Mayer. Let's talk about Almirola first, again, shortening to 12-1. Right now, FanDuel Sportsbook, the applied odds at 12-1 are 7.7%. I have Almirola at 8.9%. So again, despite the shortening, he is still a value for me. And you could have gotten Almirola at 20-1 earlier on this week. I got him at 18 back on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday night. So there's been a lot of movement, but it's for good reason. He is driving for Joe Gibbs Racing in Xfinity now, same team as Nemechek, and They were the best team in the series last year on these high-speed tracks. Almirola is also in his age 40 season. Typically, drivers peak around age 39, per some research by David Smith, who now works for RFK Racing. So this is a great age for Almirola against a lot of guys who are very much younger than him. So we've never really seen Almirola excel on mile-and-a-half tracks, which is what Las Vegas is, but some of that was due to the equipment that he had in those series. This equipment is the best, and it can definitely contend for wins. So I agree with the model here. I was honestly shocked how low the market was on Almirola, 20-1. Now 12-1, I still got value. 8.9% for me, 7.7% implied. No longer the best bet on the board in Xfinity for me, but still a good one regardless. The best bet would be on Sam Mayer, who is still 18-1. And Mayer had a breakout year last year, which makes sense because I think it was his age 20 or age 21 season. So still a very young guy. He's had a lot of experience now in Xfinity despite that young age, and finally seemed to put a lot of it together last year. I thought his wins on road courses may have been a little bit fluky based on the field strength and stuff like that, but he did win Homestead last year. Now that was a playoff race, so there were no Cup Series drivers in the field, but it was a pretty impressive showing. Not a ton of Cup Series regulars in the field this weekend either. And he's still young. So you should expect further progress from Mayer on a very good team with Junior Motorsports. I have Mayer at 7.7% to win. His implied odds here are 5.3%. So I'm going to go with Almirola 12-1 and Mayer 18-1 right now. And I want to keep an eye on Nemechek because I am likely to add him later. I just want to see how things settle out in practice and qualifying before I decide to do so. Finishing up here at the Truck Series, we get Kyle Busch once again in the series. Busch ran the Truck Series race last week, and shocker, he won again. So it's hard to bet against Kyle Busch. He's minus 110 for this weekend. But I do think there is value in doing so here. That's because Christopher Bell is also in the field this weekend, driving for Tricon. And Tricon is one of the fastest teams in the Truck Series, and speed does matter a lot at this track. And Bell is also, like Kyle Busch, a great driver. He does not have the same track record in the Truck Series as Kyle Busch does, but it is a very good driver in a very fast truck. And as a result, I view both these guys pretty similarly, honestly. At least my model does. Busch is 32% to win by the model. Bell is 31%. If Bell were not in this field, Busch would be around 44% to win by my numbers. So the model does like Kyle Busch a lot. It just also loves Christopher Bell. Busch is minus 110 to win. Bell is 6-1. So I am way off market here. And typically, when you fight the market tends to be right because there are very smart people running these models. But I think my model directionally, at least, is right here in being higher on Bell than the plus 600 you can get at FanDuel Sportsbook. It is hard to bet against Busch, especially after he beat me just last weekend, but it's a good price, and the price dictates whether or not something's a value. So I am going to go with Christopher Bell 6-1. So for me in NASCAR this weekend, Denny Hamlin 10-1 in Cup, Eric Almirola 12-1, and Sam Mayer 18-1 in Xfinity. Monitoring John Hunter Nemechek throughout practice and qualifying. Plus 350 now, currently a value, but I want to see if that does stick. And then Christopher Bell 6-1 for the Truck Series going up against Kyle Busch. That is all that we have here for today on Covering the Spread. Big thank you once again to Austan Cass for swinging by, breaking down his thoughts on this weekend's EPL action. Check out Austan on Twitter at Austan Cass and find his work at FanDuel Research. I am on Twitter at Jim Sonis. You can find me on Threads at Jim.Sonis and find FanDuel Research on Twitter at FanDuel Research. Want to thank you all for tuning in for today. Good luck to you with your bets across this weekend. Enjoy what should be a fun sports weekend. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been Covering the Spread right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network.